So here's another account about adult height growth. It says here this person grew from 5'5" to 6 feet. Oh, that's a good story there. 5'5" to 6 feet between age 20 to 23. So we'll read this account to note that same critical factor that is related to their growth spurt, their adult growth spurt. And again, these are different people. I don't believe that they were conspiring to do this. I believe this is simply the truth being revealed. You have several people share their story, and you listen, without casting judgment. You just listen and see if the same theme appears. And in that, when you hear those similarities, you have knowledge and you can use it to your advantage. Okay? And it's not like these people were trying. It don't say that they were trying to get taller. It just happened. But if we just let these people tell their story and we listen, then we could find those clues that empower us to gain mastery of phenomena. The phenomena of having adult growth spurts. Okay? With these people, it just happened. They were living their life and it happened. They got taller as an adult. Well, what can we do to make this happen? If it just happened without them trying, then there can be a way to make it happen. Let's investigate it. Let's listen and investigate. And so, I read the previous story, and you already know what happened in my case. My height increases, they came with weight gain. And so many of them came with weight gain. And I would fight against that. But that's what happened. And then I realized, if we're trying to get taller in adulthood, we have to chase weight gain. We have to chase it. That is our goal. But it's how we do it. And we do it the butterfly way. And like I said, we'll get into that. But right now, let's go through this story. He says, I worked out since I was 16. Always had a good multivitamin a day. When I was younger, I was always extremely muscular for my age, because I realized that since I couldn't get taller, I could compensate by getting stronger. I just want to say, I know what that feels like. That's why I lifted weights when I was younger. So, I may not be tall, but, hey, you ain't gonna want to mess with me, because I'm stronger than the average guy. And that was my goal, and I feel like I had to do it because of where I lived. And yeah, and so that's what I did, and that's what my brother did. And my brother, more so than me, he got the reputation of being strong. So I totally understand this guy's plight here. I'll keep reading. And I naturally have wide shoulders, so it worked out pretty well for me. I always ate a high protein diet. Interesting, high protein. Okay. But the question is, how much protein? Was he eating enough? It can be high protein, but it doesn't mean he had the right amount in total. Proportion wise, it could have been high protein. Like protein could have been 50% of his diet, 70%, something like that. But if let's say the proportion of your protein is 70%, but it's only like 8 ounces of beef a day, and that's all the protein you're eating, shoot, what's the other 30%? You ain't hardly eating nothing. So yes, it's a high protein diet, but it don't mean that it's enough to accomplish your goals. Now again, in this case, he just stating how he was living. He's not saying that he was trying to grow taller. He's just saying this is how I was living. So I'm just giving you the math. We want to get that math in perspective. When he says high protein diet, it doesn't mean a high amount. It just means a high proportion. Not a high portion, but a high proportion. Okay? And we'll continue reading. In terms of changes in lifestyle, I had a bad ACL tear, which led me to gain 50 pounds. Okay, so right now we see that when it comes to all the calories he's taking in now, he's not using it up with activity. So now he's at a surplus. Okay, he's moved to a surplus and he's gained 50 pounds. Okay, but listen, he gained 50 pounds on a high protein diet. That's a different 50 pounds than if you're eating donuts and cookies and cake. That's different. Listen. He gained 50 pounds on a high protein diet. I think in the very next video, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what the butterfly way is. Yeah. There are actually 2 parts of the butterfly way. We're going to talk about one part. Okay, we're going to talk about the part that involves weight gain, and we're going to talk about the part that involves weight loss. Okay, there's a weight gain aspect and a weight loss aspect of the butterfly way. But I'm thinking maybe we'll talk about the weight gain aspect first. But anyway, he gained, this is critical what I'm saying to you, he gained weight on a high protein diet. Critical. That ain't normal weight gain. That's different. It's different. Okay? We'll keep reading here. In terms of changes in lifestyle, I had a bad ACL tear, which led me to gain 50 pounds, and I developed an addiction to painkillers. I slept more during this time period. I really grew during this time when I was recovering from injury, ironically. So he was gaining weight on a protein diet and sleeping more than usual. So much is here, and let me go ahead and talk about it. Let's talk about what engorgement is. Remember when I talked about active decompression, forced decompression, pumped decompression, vertical engorgement, engorged decompression. Okay? There's Another keyword I talked about. I'm trying to remember it. Pumped. Oh, okay. We got forced decompression, active decompression, engorged, pumped. Trying to think of another description. There's a fifth one. Sorry, can't think of it right now. But let's just think of the word engorgement. Engorgement. Sorry, I think I'm talking a little bit too soon. Let's finish this, okay? Let's finish this. I want to have that fifth one. I'm sorry. So just consider this a preview, okay? All of this is related, okay? That's what I want you to know right now. All of this is related. 50 pounds weight gain on a high protein diet, getting a lot of sleep. Okay? Let's finish reading this. Also, my body had pretty much finished puberty by then, before I started regrowing. Okay? So he's letting you know he was done with puberty. He was finished. But as an adult, he grew taller on a high protein diet, gaining weight. So it was over and above. Look. So listen, if he was not using the protein, if he was not using the calories and gaining weight, then how was his body registering his food intake? Let me tell you how. His body understood his food intake to be gorging. You see? The truth is in the word. It's in the word itself. He was gorging unintentionally. Unintentionally, he was gorging. That gorging led to engorged decompression. He was sleeping. He was sleeping longer than this dude. How do you say he was firing on all cylinders? He had all the things. And look, I recently saw this, but before I made that video I made last year when I talked about engorged decompression, forced decompression, and all that stuff. When I talked about that, I had not read this story, but this validates what I was saying. It validates it. And look, I knew what I was saying because I had lived it. I had experienced it. Though I did not know how to articulate it. When I was talking about it last year, I was telling you about things that happened nearly a decade ago. But I was communicating it the best way that I could. And see, by the way, let me just say this. That gave me it was a challenge when coaching other people. Because I didn't even know how to speak or translate everything about my process. But I did know if you just do everything I tell you to do, you will grow. You're going to grow if you just you do what I'm telling you to do. And yes, no, and you know, this was a challenge. You know, a person who's being coached by me, they might expect to have everything lined out, like what to do on a daily basis, and like I write it down and I just hand them a sheet of paper and they do what's on that paper. But that's never how it worked. because the process was dynamic. And so it was day to day, and I would say, okay, do this, do that, okay. Okay, what was your height this morning? Okay, now let's go over what you ate. Let's talk about your life yesterday. Okay, now this is what we're gonna do today. Okay, boom, 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 and it was a process, and it's like I didn't understand it. I did not. I understood it, but I didn't understand it. Okay, it's like I didn't know how to speak it, and so in my grow tall process, I was accounting for weight loss, and I was accounting for weight gain during the tail end. It's just amazing what it's like. I knew it. I know it, but I didn't know how to speak it. But only later the clarity comes, and now I know how to actually communicate what was going on. And so if you hear what I'm saying now, and if you hear what I said in the past, and even if you hear what I said a decade ago, there is no contradiction. There's no contradiction. I'm saying the exact same thing, but I'm saying it in a different way. And you can do it if you want to decipher it and see. This is how you know it's the truth. I was just saying it the best way I could. Recently, we're gonna get to this, and there's some videos I have that are unlisted, and I went back and I watched some of those videos, and oh man, just know what you're hearing right now, this very moment, it is so legit. It is so legit. So just please understand, all these things are connected. He gained weight on a high protein diet, not on a high starch diet or high carb or whatever you call it, breads and stuff like that, junk food. It was high protein, but the body registered it as gorging. He was gorging because it led to weight gain. So the body is saying you are eating beyond your body's requirement. You're 5'5", and you're eating beyond your body requirement. And since he was not, and since he was eating high protein versus another way, his body is less inclined to turn the excess into fat. People say a calorie is a calorie. Wait a minute. No. Yes and no, but let me tell you about the no. Calories have different inclinations. What is your caloric inclination? If you eat a caloric surplus of donuts, you're going to look a certain way, because the calories will be inclined so. But if you eat the same amount of calories in meat, that is a different caloric inclination. See, calories have priorities. Calories, depending on what the calorie is, it has a priority, an inclination. It's like if you eat a whole bunch of steak or something, it might be, okay, can we help this person with packing on protein first? And if there's anything left over, okay, maybe we turn into fat. Maybe. But first, let's go to protein, and then if it's not, if we all done with the protein, maybe there's some connective tissue we can we can build up. Okay, if it's not connective tissue, maybe it's some other tissue. But see, depending on what the calorie is, it could have several priorities before it gets to turning into fat. Oh, yeah, guys, I don't know about you, but this stuff is wonderful to me. Talking about it is the truth of it. For me, I don't know what it is for you. Well, I know what it is for me. It's undeniable. It's undeniable. I see it in my own story. I see it in this guy's story. And I even see it in the ancient stories of these different tribes, these different people who ate a certain way. It's in their stories as well. This is life. We're talking about mastery of phenomena, and we seeing all of it right here in this story. Also, my body had pretty much finished puberty by then, so he was done before I started regrowing. And I didn't take any supplements or hormones or anything like that to trigger it, which is very interesting. And let me tell you what I like about this. Oh wait, let me read that last part. And no, I've stayed put in Chile, Canada. Okay. I love that part. I love that because people try to put height on genetics. They try to put height on how much sun you've been exposed to, or how much heat. Look, it's tall people in cold climates. It's tall people in warm climates. Look, people always have this. To me, it's an elitist view. Oh, we're tall because we're this race. Ho, ho, ho. Or we're tall because we live here. And we're tall because we live there. It's like, no, homie. No. I'm not, no. This is what I know. God is not partial. Now that's what I know. God is not partial. Okay? So, no. Something I just don't accept. I don't accept. I won't believe that. I ain't going to even go on that tangent. I believe every race can be tall. I believe that. Every race. Yeah. God is not partial. And I believe every race can be big in other ways. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. God is not partial. God ain't partial. Yeah. But speaking of that, engorgement. Listen, his body registered his protein intake as gorging. He was gorging because it was more than his body needed. Because now he was less active. And so him gorging, when he went to sleep, when the body is going through its regeneration period, that's what happens when you sleep. That's your period of growth and regeneration. That's when we do it the most, when we're asleep. The body now has all this stuff. It has extra. And it can only engorge because he has gorged. He has gorged, so he can only engorge, and he can only engorge the way his calories are inclined. He can only engorge in the way that his calories are inclined. If he had a surplus of donuts, cookies, cakes, and you name it, okay, you name it. Anyway, don't worry about it if you don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, if he had a surplus of all that junk food, okay, the engorgement would go in the direction of fat deposit. That would be the inclination of the caloric intake. So the engorgement would go there. In the process of growth and regeneration that occurs at night, the body's going to say, okay, what do we do with all this? Well, if it was that crappy food, they say, okay, let's make his stomach bigger, let's make him fatter. And see, that's why I talk about height intensive diet. There is a such thing as a height intensive diet. In other words, there is a such thing as taking in calories that are more inclined to give you height than give you fat. Okay? So, anyway, high protein diet, he gorged himself on high. They just face the reality of it, whether it was intentional or not. He gorged himself on protein, high protein, and he was able to achieve extreme decompression, active decompression, engorged decompression, pump decompression, whatever you want to call it, because one, he was getting plenty sleep, more sleep than usual, and his body had extra as it was decompressing. It was decompressing with extra. And if you know anything about osmosis and diffusion, you can look it up. Osmosis, diffusion, just the natural processes of the body. Look, there's even a word called cellular diffusion. Yeah. Not to make this too detailed here, but just with the natural physical processes that takes place, the body is going to deposit his excess in some kind of way. And it's going to do it based on the caloric inclination. It's going to do it based on the caloric inclination. And yeah. And when you add that to the fact that he's getting all that extra sleep, you have an adult growth spurt. What happens when we sleep? Our growth hormone levels go up. So this guy, he wasn't sprinting. He wasn't doing high reps in the gym, getting that lactic acid buildup. It doesn't seem he was doing any of that. But he was getting elevated growth hormone levels because of his increased amount of sleep. So that's a factor as well. Increased growth hormone levels that came with the extra sleep, as well as the surplus of a high protein diet. It made a scenario where he got them 5 inches. And hey, we don't, the multivitamin could have helped all that time taking them that multivitamin a day. Who knows? But anyway, let's take a moment and do the math here. Okay, if 50 pounds, if he gained 50 pounds, and he went from 5'5" to 6 feet, that's 7 inches. Okay, 7 inches, 7-inch growth spurt. Okay, so if he was a large frame, I'm guessing he was probably on the larger side. That's my guess. Because if it was that much weight gain without activity, he wasn't gaining muscle. I mean, yeah, he's probably on the larger side. So pulling my calculator up, 6.6 times 7. Right on the money, y'all. Right on the money. 46.2 pounds. 46.2 pounds. There it is, y'all. The math checks out. The math checks out. 6.6 pounds per inch. 6.6 times 7 for the 7 inches brings us to 46.2 pounds. You round up, that's 50. There it is, y'all. There it is. I think this story is true. I think the likelihood of it being a false story is very, very low. I think likely it's true. He's just telling his story and the math checks out. He's just talking. And we're able to see a correlation. Getting those height increases is about getting that weight gain. Getting that weight gain. Okay? But doing it the butterfly way. Yes, the butterfly way does involve high protein. However, there's a little bit more detail, and we'll have to discuss that in another video. Let's read this last couple of bits here. He says, I live by myself with roommates and no longer had parents watching over me. So I slept in a lot because I picked all afternoon and evening classes, okay? Then pulled numerous all-nighters during exam periods. Overall slept a lot more. He also says, honestly, I slept like an average college student. Went to sleep late. Irregular sleep patterns because of parties, exams. Nothing crazy about my sleep, except I did sleep more for a while after tearing ACL. Okay, so again, he's saying the same thing. When that injury happened, he slept more, and it appears that that's when a lot of his growth occurred, after that injury. What I also like about this story is that you can tell he wasn't stressed. He was not stressed. This dude was chilling, just living life, enjoying his youth. Okay? And that probably led to better sleep. Okay? When you chill like that, when you sleep, you're able to relax more and get better decompression anyway. Just yeah. So again, this height stuff ain't nothing to stress about. Do all the right things, do the most important things, make sure they're in line, and just live your life. Live your life. Okay? Live, do the best you can. And hey, if you are one of those regimented type of people, then be regimented. If you're one of those people who are not that regimented and you like that spontaneity and stuff like that, well, do your thing. Get your sleep, but get it how you can get it. Get it in a way that makes you happy. Just do you. Do you. Peace.